Hello and welcome back to OmniFoot TV. This is your host, Omar speaking. In today's video, or hopefully the first of two, is about Mason Mount completing his move to Man United. Now, I've made a video about this before, but he's officially been unveiled. He's left the Chelsea fans quite the farewell message, which I'm going to get into in a bit. And my first impressions, I woke up and I saw him dressed in the United kit with his back to the camera and the number 7 on the back of his shirt. Personally, I don't think this bodes well for him. I don't think it bodes well for him by any stretch of the imagination. This places him under the microscope. This places him potentially in a situation where a level of scrutiny is going to be present and prevalent over him throughout his United career or throughout the foreseeable future, for as long as that's going to go on. Mainly because the number 7 shirt has been the biggest hit and miss in United's, you know, uh, list of horrors throughout the past couple of seasons, ever since Ronaldo first left for Madrid. You have players like Memphis Depay, Angel Di Maria, and Alexis Sanchez, all of which donned the number 7, all of which failed to meet expectation. Now, in terms of those who originally worn the shirt and shown up, Brian Robson, David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, George Best, and Eric Cantona. I'm glad I actually have my memories intact there. I'm not a United fan, but I have a lot of respect for all those players, and I don't think Mount amounts to anything that 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 says that he has the potential to wear that shirt. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And this isn't just me as a Chelsea fan. This is my current opinion. I don't think that he was worthy of it. But, and there is a but, I think that he needs to prove it. If he truly is worthy of that shirt, if he is worthy of the scrutiny and the attention and the hype, then he has to show up on the pitch and really do a number on everyone. Even to me as a Chelsea fan, I would respect him a lot more if he actually did end up doing something. But personally, I don't think he's the kind of player that has the potential to be more than he already is. He may rack up like higher numbers throughout the next couple of seasons, but I don't see him evolving as much. I don't see him as that sharp player who has the capabilities to adapt to difficult situations in such a way. He has a very high work rate. He can be clinical when required, and he's just this workhorse more so than he is the kind of player who, there are certain players who can see things before they happen. Certain players who don't necessarily need to pause or can pause before you've even realized that they have in order to make split-second decisions that change the course of games. And you realize that they get even better when they slow down because they figure out how to use their intellect and how to reverse engineer their opponent's momentum in order to make sure that they get exactly what they need out of every situation. Mount, to me, isn't necessarily that kind of player. And he's going to have to figure himself out at United very quickly for the fans to take to him. Because the only thing I'm very sure of is that the fans are going to shred him if he doesn't compete. Now, in terms of his farewell video, I'm not buying any of it. That wasn't really a farewell video to me. That was just like, how some people would rather hand in a letter of resignation with one of those, well, how do I put this? Okay, I'll just use this meme example I found. I saw this guy, apparently, hand in a letter of resignation online with a SpongeBob meme. And it had the one where he basically gets up and leaves the chair and he's like, I'm out. That's basically what Mount did. I don't see any direct correlation with his supposed passion for the club and that weirdly robotic video he made. That was more so a joke than anything I had ever expected to see from a player who publicly claimed that this was his dream to make it into the Chelsea first team. A player who, on more than one occasion, emphasized that he wanted to stay and become a club legend. someone who the club and its fans, or more so the fans, made a banner for. The boy who had a dream. Well, the boy who had a dream just joined a direct rival. And it wasn't really a case if you can't beat him, join him. It was, he was, I mean, he struggled at the club. Things fell out between him and the ownership. He struggled in terms of dealing with the hierarchy and communicating with them. He did struggle on the pitch for the longest time because he wasn't necessarily a starter. His stats were going down, his performances were whack, but at the same time, this is not the reaction you'd expect from a player who had that drive and passion for the club. Apparently, he says, and I quote, "I know many of you are not going to like this, but I am doing what is best for my career. I don't see how this is the best thing he could have done for his career. I just don't. Moving to Man United, sure, it may look much better on paper in terms of how Ten Hag did last season, in terms of how they finished, but at the same time, last season was a fluke for Chelsea, not for United, for Chelsea. Just so I don't get any hate in the comments. Last season was an odd season for the club, and it was by no means going to persist. Players who have been loyal to their clubs, who have become legends of the game throughout certain spans of time, who have had to deal with issues with their club's hierarchies. And the first player that comes to mind in such a way is Messi during Bartomeu's presidency of Barcelona. You see issues and problems like that, and you pay attention to them, like close attention, and you read in between the lines, and it's like he could have publicly ousted the guy, gotten himself fired or sacked from the club, had his contract terminated, excuse me, quite like what Ronaldo did with United. And then a while later, you'd realize that it wasn't worth it. The way Messi handled Bartomeu, in my humble opinion, as a player, in terms of dealing with the crazy PR situation that was out of hand and still managing to just stay and do your best, he earned my respect for it, especially after what Ronaldo pulled last season. Now, why am I talking about any of these two subjects? Because when players start struggling on a on a PR level, on a communications level, in a manner that makes them feel unimportant where they're playing, they either opt to leave, or if it hits to an extreme, they can do what Ronaldo did or what Messi could have done. Now, to say that you love your club, which both of these men did, by the way, but let's just keep to Messi because Messi grew up in Barcelona. Mount hasn't necessarily experienced the level of struggle, the kind that would yield resentment for the club. He made this like the hierarchy as much as he ever has. He may think that the change of ownership has left him out of favor. But does that really equate to, you know, a midlife crisis career wise? Because that's just what it feels like. You don't make rash decisions like this unless, you just can't handle the pressure. And that's what it looked like to me. Players who spend most of their careers talking end up doing nothing. A player who talks about loyalty and doesn't back it up loses the respect of the fans. Now, I'm probably going to say this to the United fans watching. You guys have every right to expect as much as you can from him. He has to show up. He's earning exactly what he wanted. He's taking your number 7 shirt. The spotlight is on him. All eyes are on him. That's exactly what he wanted. Give him hell. And I don't mean it in a sense where, throw abuse at him. No. Push him forward. Push him into being a better player. But I would still be wary of him. A player who chooses to leave a club that he was supposedly loyal to for his entire life simply because the kitchen got a little too hot. man, it just doesn't work for me personally. I can't respect it. And it's not me as a Chelsea fan. Talk is cheap. Talking about wanting to do something and not doing it and then going and doing the exact opposite and joining a direct rival. There is a good amount of respect lost there. And I'm sure United fans are like, we can take advantage of this situation. Go ahead. Cheer him on. Push him forward. Give him help. Keep him on his toes. Make sure he works hard. Make sure he pushes himself to levels he probably didn't even imagine he could. That's if he does. And for your sake, I really do hope he does. Because if he doesn't actually perform, he's going to look horrible. He's going to look even worse than he does now. He's already lost the respect of the majority of the Chelsea fans I've seen online because, mind you, I've not really been to Stamford Bridge, so I wouldn't know. But I do not expect that banner to be flying around Stamford Bridge anytime soon. And I don't expect him to be cheered on his return to Stamford Bridge. Otherwise, that would be odd to me. It would be oddly awkward. And that's all I have to say on the matter. In a long line of number sevens, I really hope he does well. I really do. Just for his sake. It would be freaking terrible to see him just flop at United after forcing a move like that. It really would. And I'm saying this as a neutral, right? I can easily put my dislike for him as a Chelsea fan on the side. There's no bitterness here. There's just the need to see him actually do what he's going to say. Because he's failed already in terms of Chelsea. And if he fails in terms of United, then my friends, you've been screwed out of 60 million. And that will be a depressing realization as soon as it hits the fan. And I really hope it doesn't. And that's all I have to say on the matter entirely. End of video. Closing this chapter for good. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because I've realized that close to 95 or 96% of the viewership are not subscribed. And, what are you waiting for? Go ahead. If you watch, just click that button and click the bell notifications button too. We post content on a daily basis. And what a day this is going to be. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time the whistle blows.